So you want to be a filmmaker. Congrats. I have a tip for you to help you learn filmmaking. But before that, I want to ask you, do you want to learn Japanese? I do, and believe it or not, that actually has to do with what we're going to talk about today. I've been practicing filmmaking for a few years now. I'm definitely not an expert, but compared to when I was a beginner, I feel like I know a lot more what I'm doing. I remember when I was a beginner, I was like 12, experimenting on iMovie. I had just gotten a camera and I would look up YouTube tutorials all day on how to be a filmmaker, how to make a short film. And if that sounds like you, then hi, my name's Abdiel. What's your name? I have a tip/method that will help you to learn filmmaking. It's something that has definitely helped me a lot to become a much better filmmaker. I'm going to tell you now what the tip/method is, but warning, it's going to sound really stupid or really obvious, I guess, but just let me explain what I mean with what I say. Essentially, the tip/method is that you need to watch an ungodly amount of films. Watch films to learn filmmaking? Yeah, I've heard that one before. You watch the films you like and you try to learn what you can from them. Like, yeah, no duh. Yeah, no, I mean, like, yes, but it's not that simple. When I say that you need to watch a ton of films, I mean that you shouldn't just be watching the films that you like to watch, that you know you enjoy. You need to watch all sorts of different kinds of films. You need to step outside your comfort zone and watch films that are outside of your comfort zone. Films that are different, films that are weird. Believe it or not, this is something that has actually helped me a lot to become a much better filmmaker. And I know it will help you too, and I'm going to prove to you how. So I want you to view filmmaking and film as a language that you learn. This is where the learning Japanese part comes in. So I've been attempting to learn Japanese. I'm still very much at the beginner level, but so in pursuit of trying to learn Japanese, I did some research into language learning itself. And something that I've come across all the time that I keep hearing over and over is that input is really important for language learning. When you want to learn a language, you need to be watching films and shows in that language. You need to be reading in that language. You need to listen to podcasts, listens to music. You need to immerse yourself in the language and just constantly be consuming it. When you consume a language constantly, your brain absorbs that language. I know someone who's also trying to learn Japanese like me. They watched a lot of VTuber content with a bit of studying, of course, and now they've gotten to a point where they can watch VTubers and like actually kind of understand what they're saying without the need for subtitles. Input is super helpful for language learning, but output is equally as important. To be able to speak a language, you need to actually practice speaking it. The more you practice speaking a language, the better you will become at it. It's the exact same with film. Filmmaking is a language. The different techniques and styles that a director uses to convey a story and to convey emotions to an audience, that's language. And yes, there's so many different styles and different ways of conveying ideas and emotions through film, but it's all a part of the filmmaking language. It's film grammar. And here's Martin Scorsese talking about it.
Certain tools you use, and those tools become part of a vocabulary that's just as valid as that vocabulary that is used in literature. And the grammar is panning left and right, tracking in or out, intercutting a certain way, and how you use all these elements to make an emotional and psychological point to an audience.
Watching a lot of films is input. When you're watching a lot of different kinds of films, the different techniques and styles of the films, that all gets ingrained into your brain. And it's important not just to watch films, but to study films. You watched a film that you liked, that's great, watch it again. But this time paying attention to the style, to the techniques. Why did the director put the camera here? Why is he panning this way? Why is he moving the camera this way? You need to analyze films. And also watch a lot of video essays and analysis on YouTube about movies. I would watch so many of these back in the day, so many. I would spend all my time watching video essays, and I love them because I learned so much. Studio Binder is an excellent channel. I also used to watch lessons from the screenplay a lot. There's so many free resources out there. You should 100% be using them. But so because I've watched so many and analyzed so many films, now when I approach a project, when I want to tell a story, I'll be thinking, I think this story needs to be told in this certain kind of way, in this certain kind of order. And I think that the style of cinematography needs to be like this. I think the shots need to look like this. The camera should move this way in this scene, and this scene should have music and this scene should have like no audio. The idea is they're just kind of pouring out of me. But where are they coming from? Are they just coming from me? Did I make them? They're coming to me because of the catalog of films that I've already seen. All those different techniques and styles that I observed or maybe just subconsciously took in. They're all coming out now, and I get to use them and apply them to my own films. But isn't that just copying other filmmakers? Shouldn't I be like original and creative? Everyone has copied everyone. Every story has been told before, just in different ways. Directors steal from other directors. Like, this isn't new. People have talked about this before. All great directors watch a lot of films and learn from them. A great example is Quentin Tarantino. He spent an ungodly amount of time watching an ungodly amount of films. He became a living textbook for films. And all of those films that he watched helped him to create his own style. And this is why it's important to watch a huge variety of films, because you're able to obtain those tools from all of those films across the world to help you with your films. If you only stay in your comfort zone and only watch the kinds of movies that you know you'll like, the kinds of movies you usually watch, then you'll only gain the tools that those films have to offer. You'll be inspired to tell the similar kinds of stories they tell in a similar style. Like, that will mainly be your toolkit. And it's good that you're learning from those films, but you could obtain so many more tools by watching other films. Here, I'll tell you how I went about this process. So when I was a kid, I mostly watched like whatever animated Disney movies were out in the day, like kids movies. I would watch, I guess, some family-friendly comedies, the occasional drama with my mom, and that's mostly what I knew films to be. But then I started to explore a little bit, step outside of that zone. I watched Gravity, and I studied Gravity. I started to look at the behind the scenes and analysis, and I realized that there was intention behind those long takes, behind the camera moves, behind positioning the actors and the sets in a certain way. It was all to tell a story. And then I discovered that, oh, films can be like this. They can be real works of art. And then I watched Arrival, which messed with time and with its structure and storytelling, leading to a huge twist that blew my mind. And it made me realize that, oh, films can be like this. And then I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it was so weird, but I felt so impacted by the end. And then I looked more into it. What did it mean? And I was like, oh, films can be like this as well. And then I watched French New Wave films, and I was like, films can be like this too? I steadily began to expand my horizon of what I understood films to be. Now I have a much broader understanding of what film can be, what kinds of stories can be told, and the ways in which they can be told. This all helps me to understand the language of filmmaking and helps me to understand the best ways in which I can tell my own stories. But of course, it's not all about input. Output is equally as important. You need to be practicing your filmmaking, making your own films. Watch a movie, get inspired by it, and then make something similar inspired by it. Or maybe just take aspects of that movie and go in a different direction. Maybe take certain techniques and try to push them harder. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make bad films. You're going to cringe at your films in the future, trust me. In the same way that when you're learning a language and you're speaking it for the first time, you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. You're going to embarrass yourself. Boku no Nihongo wa hidoi. But it's part of the learning process. You make mistakes so that you can learn from them and improve. So in summary, watch all the classic films that you can, you know, the big ones that everyone talks about, and get Mubi and watch films from Mubi, because Mubi has a huge library of films from all around the world, and it'll really help to expand your horizon of what films can be. It's really great. I love Mubi. And then after you watch some films, go experiment and make your own films. You don't need that many people. If you want, you can just make something yourself. You don't even need a cohesive story. You could practice your cinematography. You could make a short film about a tree.
A story could be rain hitting a tree. That could be your story.
The point is that you practice speaking the language of filmmaking yourself. So yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. I hope I get to see you again sometime. Maybe I'll pop up in your feed, or maybe you could even subscribe. But yeah, this was a nice chat. I wish you luck on your filmmaking journey, and goodbye.